I am Grady.
And I'm Zach.
And I'm Sheree.
And welcome to Highlights, a show where we recap something like it's sports, even though it's not. And this season, we are covering the 4th season of Dragula and all of its spooky glory. It's really hard to top last week's episode and everything that went therein, but we are going to go for it and try. So, previously on Dragula. Last week's episode was Weird Wild West, a spooky Western-themed episode where the queens were tasked with bringing forth characters in a Western theme and bringing it to the main floor stage. And it's really interesting this season. It's the first season actually where the opening scenes and the exterminations are actually completely related. And I actually like that better. It's a little more cohesive. And so they open up with this silly Western opening where they're trying to rustle up some grub, as they say. Bitter Betty, here pictured as Rose McGowan, survived the extermination, and Astrid Aurelia, after her epic meltdown, plural, was exterminated. So everybody's reacting to that. I know Dahli shared some thoughts about that because and that's something we commented on last week was, Dahli seemed very uncomfortable and despite being the person who probably knows Astrid the most, did not want to intervene. But Dahli mentions like he's never seen that side of her before and things like that. So any other thoughts on Astrid Aurelia's infamous exit from the show?
I find that really hard to believe that Dolly's never seen that side of her. I think maybe she was just utterly shocked that she brought that side of her out in front of cameras and to the competition, and maybe just was absolutely gobsmacked and didn't know how to react to it.
So I'm definitely going to have to challenge Astrid Aurelia when she said it was a panic attack. I don't think it was. I think she was really overwhelmed. I think it was more of a tantrum. Not that I'm proud, but I've had them. But honestly, it's more of a reflection of how Astrid talks to herself in her own brain, her self-talk. And she was literally just freaking out so hard. But what she needed to remind herself is that her life and her drag isn't over. I think it's in the bottom on Dragula. It's not the end of the world. But she got sent home because she said she wasn't there for the performance or the drag or the Boulet brothers. Well, then what are you doing here? Go home.
Bitter Betty survives and, promises to finally, do what needs to be done in the competition and swears up and down she's going to bring it.
Hoso's face when Bitter Betty walked through the door was so priceless.
Yeah.
But at the same time, eye on the prize, girl. Eye on the prize.
Mm-hmm.
You're not there to meet anybody. You're there to compete. Let's go.
Yeah, I was instantly worried for Hoso when I saw her reaction to Bitter Betty coming through, and I was like, don't let this remove your focus from the competition because she's such a strong competitor.
So our monsters create all of their looks for their Weird Wild West floor shows, and first up is Bitter Betty.
So on my notes, I thought she did the prompt, but I just kind of typed just not quite there for me is what I wrote as we were watching it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was nice, but it's the kind of the same thing that we've been seeing episode after episode so far, where it's you're doing the challenge, but it's not to the level that I really quite want to see. It's more than what we've seen so far, but it's not that wow factor just yet. I do think this is the best that she's brought so far, though.
For sure, I would have to agree. I wrote down that it was okay. The look was okay. They had a good performance. The performance was good. I honestly didn't get the cyborg Terminator part of it until there was the breakdown at the end of the floor show. And so for me, I was kind of wanting a cyborg arm, or maybe a half wig, half robot brain. One of the judges, Trixie, suggested, a cyborg eye, but really an apparatus. I didn't pick up the Terminator part at all.
Yeah, Bitter Betty it read a little like her face paint read a little bit carnival to me. It's like, I think I said this when we were watching it, but it's like she went to a face painting station and she was like, I want a robot eye or something. And they just like painted it on real quick. And then she threw everything else on and was like, yeah, I'm a cyborg, Western, whatever. And it just, especially after her speech about like being shook up by the extermination and all this stuff, I was like,
Yeah, even in the still that we're looking at, you can't tell that that's what she painted on her face. So
right.
like to Trixie's comment, like if you're going to do a character, you need to be able to see that character. Like the people in the back need to be able to see that character.
It's a step up, but not where I need her to be.
Yeah. One thing I noticed when we were watching it is that when they were talking, they were doing their like deliberation thing, and they were talking about her performance, and they showed a clip of her performance that they didn't show during the actual floor show portion of the show. And sometimes I wonder if the way they present the floor show with like the music and the editing doesn't necessarily quite capture the entire essence of the performance that they do, and might skew the way we see the performance as a whole. Like, I'm not saying like blame it on the edits, but like we're definitely getting a different clipped together version of the show than I think the Boulets are, because they obviously see the whole thing. So I try to like take that into consideration when I see the clipped together version, and then they show us a different piece of it at the end.
Hands down, have to agree with you. And that was like the veil or the curtain was lifted on that during La Zaveleta's Pale Man.
With the whole prop thing.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true, because we didn't necessarily see that, and they hated it mainly for that reason. And then we have Coco Caine, who came out as like a roasted pig whore. I don't know what she
or
like I did like this for the most part, and she had like smoke coming out of the pig parts and stuff, and I really enjoyed that. And
yeah, that part was really cool.
Yeah,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I like the look, but she didn't do much beyond the smoke gag. She already used a fan in one of her performances. She could have used a parasol. She could have twirled it. She could have danced. There could have been so much more. She could have gotten into it. So my note is beware the unclear concept. It has hurt more than one performer. You need to have a clear-cut idea of what this character is, how this character moves, how you generate that movement through your body. Like, you need to be specific. The Boulet brothers are looking for a performance.
It's the look alone doesn't tell enough of a story, but the look alone is sick. Like, that's the note I put on my phone was, okay, sick.
For sure.
But it doesn't tell enough of a story. And I feel like the people who do really well in the challenges on the floor show are ones that their entire look tells a story from beginning to end. Through the performance. And if it's just a look that just looks nice, it never does as well as a full cohesive story.
Her energy really shut down this episode too. I don't know what happened, but she tanked, and then she was complaining this isn't really her thing, and it's like, well, yeah, that's gonna happen. That's kind of part of the point.
But what's weird is if you don't have any background in sci-fi, then watch some sci-fi, get some background.
Okay, up next we have La Zaveleta, who honestly I think had a very strong comeback lately.
This shit was fierce.
I loved this.
Oh my god, yes.
It was nuts. There were some things that about the outfit, especially like the bottom half, that I think needed some touches, because it's like there's like an empty space like in the middle of her and like at the bottom, where I just think there's nothing really happening compared to like the top. The top has so much. But I loved it. I loved the performance, loved everything about it.
Yeah, this was a fully realized character, and with an immense attention to detail. This is something like you'd see like a top tier like professional cosplayer doing, like winning competitions. Like this is amazing. This is a complete 180 from what I think she was bringing before. And I think I was thoroughly surprised at what she brought this episode.
I love androgyny. Like, I love it. And this was such a different take on it. The nails with the facial hair is such a cultural taboo in so many different cultures. Like, it is so culturally taboo to be feminine and have facial hair and to be that stunning and mix all the genders together. Like, it was so beautiful. I was so freaking here for it. And I loved her interaction with her props. Even though she only had a few, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I love that she brought her culture into it, and all of these things. And I think a lot of times when we think of Western, like, we forget what the West used to be before before we went in there in the frontier and did all these things, right? So I loved her kind of like reclaiming that, like, no, Western is this. Like, what you're talking about Western is actually this to me.
Right. She said, this is my Western, and that's what I'm bringing to the stage. And it totally worked for her.
Sigourney Beaver. She had a very similar speech about wanting to bring more horror and things and go a little bit out of her comfort zone and what she's been bringing so far. I have to say this, I'm trying to remember what her beach party look was, but I feel like the hair and things like that were very similar, you know, and she painted her face a little more alien-like, but it was like, I think Trixie mentioned it wasn't kind of like Sigourney's, like you couldn't, or not Sigourney's, Bitter Betty's, you couldn't really read it from far away, so she just kind of like blew for no reason. And it's a little, I loved what she did. I loved how this looks, right? Especially in the still we're looking at. I love how she looks. And I love the reveal she had and things like that. It wasn't terrible. It's kind of like Bitter Betty's. It's like, if you're going to amp it up, and now's the time to do it.
Yeah, this look was just really underwhelming for me, especially compared to the Titans she had on stage with her. It's just, I was really expecting a fully realized character and some knock it out of the park details, and it just wasn't quite there. And I think I just really want her to do well, because I feel like she's an excellent performer, because you can tell when she's on stage, like she's really good at bringing characters to life, but like the look just wasn't there for me.
No, for sure. I love the drama and the burlesque style to her reveals and her performance. I love that part. I like it that she doesn't fumble with her costume, but I'm going to need to see her look ugly soon. We are about to have a Melissa B. Pierce conversation up in here. Obviously, she can do glamour, but can she be a monster? And I'm going to need to see that soon. All she had to do for the Nosferatu beach party was put on a stripy little black and white bikini, which was cute, with a little back cut out on the front and some vampire teeth. But Jolie did ugly for the vampire Nosferatu beach party. Who saw that coming? Right. So, like, I need Sigourney Beaver to, like, show her ugly, like, monster side too.
And then we have Saint, who came out as a cow.
My note for Saint is literally what?
Yeah, and it's so weird.
It makes sense. Like, cattle rustling is cowboy. Like, you do that with cattle. Nobody else went as a cow. Like, and it's so beautiful to look at. It is fashion, but at the same time, like Trixie Mattel said, it was fashion on Ambien.
Yeah. I mean, let's just get this out of the way. I don't agree with who the bottom two ended up being. I'll just say that. However, I think this was still pretty low. Just because it wasn't much more than what we're looking at. So I just felt like I needed it more. That being said, I freaking love that she's a cow. And I don't know what else other to say than that, other than it's just so genius to me, but also just not executed to where it needed to be to really land it compared to the others.
Well, let me say that there should have been blood or something pouring out of the udders.
Right. Like she could have been a mad cow. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
like the characterization wasn't there. Like it really was like Sleepy on the runway. It's not so much the look. It's the inability to bring that character to life for the show itself that killed it. Because the look itself really isn't bad. Like I thought the makeup and everything and the everything else actually looked really cool. But it's the lack of energy that came with it that really just killed it and made me go, what the hell is going on here?
For sure. It's such an imaginative take on the assignment, but the energy level was so low that I wasn't buying any of it.
And I think if you want to be a weird Western cow, be a cow who was abducted by aliens or something, or
Right.
have like
the
a cow
probe
with
sticking out of you or something.
right, and
like,
have other eyes grow or another head growing out of you. Like do something, But she just kind of dressed up as a cow, as a cowboy, and as much as I love how it looks, I just don't think it was enough for her to just strut out there like that. So
do
I
you
don't think it
being
was
in
bottom
the
two,
actual
but
in the actual presence of the other competitors and the judges is what's psyching her out so much that she can't bring her characters like fully realized to life?
possibly. And I bet as much as she is fond of Dahli, I think a lot of people were shook that Dahli walked through the door. The problem is Dahli is very, very strong. And everybody knows at this point, the Boulets really like Dahli. And that's definitely, probably on everybody's mind, especially Saint, right? So, because I would argue that even Resurrection and watching Resurrection, very close between the two. So I don't think she's quite as confident now that she knows she's competing against Dahli again.
Absolutely.
That being said, they're probably like totally hooking up, which is cool. She's like, I'm so upset you're here, but come to my hotel room. And then we have I'm sorry. Then we have Then we have Jade Jolie.
Not Kimberly.
What is it? There's like the Boom comics of Power Rangers that are out right now, and they bring back the originals as like different Rangers, and so the pink one is like Ranger Slayer, and she's got like a cape, and she's like a little more dark, right? This is like the vibe I got. It was just so weird. Jade. My problem with Jade is I feel like she's relying on a lot of props and a lot of story, when that all of that should be like on her outfit and be able to be told as she's performing. But I feel like if you have to use a bunch of props and then explain your story, then it didn't work. Right? And I feel like that's her like she put on a Power Ranger outfit essentially, but swapped the boots out for cowboy boots, and she had a lasso, which you could also argue maybe she's just Wonder Woman. Like I didn't really understand. Right. And she had the head where she's like, oh no, I have this alien cowboy, which didn't really make sense. And she's like ripping things out of there. And I'm going to talk about this later, but she later explained that she's like this bounty hunter who went through all of these things, and like there's this huge backstory to why she looks the way she does and why the props are the props she has and all this stuff. But I was like, if you take the props away, what do we have? It doesn't really tell that story to me. And I would also argue that even with her props, I didn't really get that story. I didn't really understand what she was doing.
Right. And you have another competitor who was also a bounty hunter where required no explanation, and we knew exactly that's what it was.
So for me, this season, the floor show has done really well about highlighting the overall silhouette, what the costume and what they're bringing to the stage looks like without any lights on it, just to see it as like a shadow. So I appreciate that so much, and to see what Jade Jolie brought to the stage. It is the most basic sci-fi silhouette with a helmet and a head on a stick that I have ever seen. And I have seen this look in everything. And at the same time, it is nothing. It is so unimaginative.
I agree. And unimaginative, I think, is the perfect word because she took a cosplay costume and threw some props on it. And I have a huge issue with that. And it's like I like it when we see the silhouettes because they start them off all dark, like Charisse just mentioned. And I like it when I can't tell who it is because that means they're doing something different, right? So I'm like, oh, cool. Mm-hmm. And to a certain degree, like even though what Koco still brought was still kind of the same in performance, her silhouette was a little different, a tiny bit, not much. But it took me a second to register who it was, which already I thought was a step in the right direction, right? Jade, it's like in the dark, I was like, oh, that's Jade. I can tell it's a Power Ranger. I can tell this. I'm over it already.
Yep. No, for sure. Definitely. I totally agree. If you can't see who it is in the dark and you can't tell who it is, you're like, who is that? What is that? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I like that. This huge story about a bounty hunter. I'm like, yeah, but you can't tell me that's your story when you're literally wearing the costume of another story, because that's all the story I'm going to get is what the costume is.
I'm going to bring you back to season 1 when Swanthala told Melissa B. Pierce when they got to it was another Wild West challenge, but a zombie challenge. When they got out there to the set, Swanthala could not clock Melissa B. Pierce, and that was the best critique that she had. Yep. And one of her, this was a fantastic performance.
Yep, I remember that. Oh, God. Anyways, Jade's gonna win. Oh, and Dahli. So when Dahli stepped out, not only did I love it, but I think I made the comment of like, this is almost better than La Zaveleta's, And I was like, whoa. And to a certain, and I liked what they said about it looking like it was almost related to La Zaveleta's.
Right, like they belong in the same story.
Yeah, and I actually kind of liked that. It almost looked collaborative. I will say, though, that competing against each other, for me personally, Dahli's was better, to be honest. But I think either one deserved that win, right? It's just for me personally what I got. I feel like it was a little more the detail, like they were both really detail oriented, but like I said, like there's some spots in La Zaveleta's where I think like she could have done some things or cleaned it up a little bit or made it a little more cohesive top to bottom, where I think Dahli's looks very balanced and completely thought out and all that stuff a little more. But I loved both of them. I wish they had performed together, which is actually a cool feeling to have, right?
Oh no, for sure. Dahli's look was fantastic. I love the look and all the small detail and the look and the performance that they did. It was just amazing.
Yeah, the notes I put for this look were absolutely badass.
Anyways, another top competitor, Merrie Cherry, who I think is the actual silky nutmeg ganache of the season. And it seems like, I don't know what's happening. There must be something we're not getting clips of. That's really awesome. But this was a little better. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Honestly, I wrote the look was okay, the performance was okay. That's all I wrote down.
Talking about how earlier in the episode she's still full of herself. She still won't lead the legendary BS.
Yep.
Like the Boulets told her that she should.
Yep.
So I don't think she's going to take that very necessary advice. That's probably going to allow her to stretch her creative muscle in a way that will pull her forward. So I think that she's going to be her worst enemy and tank herself. And this is just looking at the makeup on the still that you've got here alone is clear evidence of that.
Yeah, it's a little rough. Plus, the look on her face in this very photo is generally how I've been reacting to her every episode so
Kill
far.
Me.
Yeah, I'm like, what is happening? And how does it relate to this challenge?
Also mixed with a little bit of, God, I hope this works.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then that brings us to Togemon. So,
Come through, needle spray.
Looking like my favorite Digimon. No, that's a lie. She's not my favorite Digimon. It's a stupid punching cactus. Anyways, Hoso Terra Toma, like I said, I really liked what she did. I thought this was ingenious, like way to think about something that nobody else was going to bring. You know, like everybody's going to be a saloon girl. Everybody's going to want to be this robot, alien, cowboy looking person. Everyone's going to want to do this. But she was like, you know what? Nobody's going to do? Be a cactus. Yes. That's pretty weird. And I was totally there for it.
They're quintessentially Western.
Yeah. Loved it so much.
The only more Western thing she possibly could have been is if she tumbled out as a tumbleweed. Like,
I know. Like, what?
Oh my god!
If she had just like literally tumbled out off the stage into the judging station, like Hoso Terra Toma. I really loved this, but there was also this element of her being a very sad cactus the whole time, and
I wonder why.
Yeah, and I just feel like she's a little in her head about it, and I think that's part of the reason why she didn't get a lot more praise this episode, and I'm a little concerned.
Okay, so sad cactus said it all. Like if she could have been crying, holy shit. I love the concept and the look, except for the white on the back of the chaps. Like it was really distracting to see that blur or that bright spot of white. Her performance was good, but it was lacking, just lacking.
Yeah, her floor show always has so much characterization. Like she is fully realized and living that character. She's no longer Hoso. She is whatever character she is portraying on the stage. And this really just felt like maybe 60% of what she normally brings. It wasn't terrible by any means. I really appreciated this look. I thought it was cool, different, artistic, everything she's known for so far in this season. But it wasn't fully there, and I really would have liked to have seen what it would have been if she was.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm a little concerned for her, but I think if she snaps out of it, I think she'll be okay.
For sure. Compared to her other mother, this one just did not have enough.
Other mother was so sublime.
Yeah. Okay.
So she even looks sad in that picture. Look how sad she looks.
Exactly. Anyway, so Zaveleta definitely gets the win. That is absolutely deserved, with Dahli coming very close, I think, to winning. I honestly, I think, would have given it to both of them, you know?
I almost thought they were. I thought they were going to have them both win. This still you have here with Zaveleta and then like a miniature Dahli in the corner. That's really funny.
Okay, so Saint and Koco Caine up for elimination. Extermination, sorry, I forget we killed them here. Their extermination challenge is to ride this mechanical bull. They did make everybody do it. To be as a fan of Dragula and have seen all the extermination challenges they've brought, I don't know that this matches the caliber of some of the other extermination challenges in terms of pressure and test, because I don't know that a lot of people were afraid to do this or apprehensive to do this or anything like that. It's kind of like a carnival ride.
I would have to agree. It was kind of a weird extermination, and I didn't like. It wasn't. Yeah.
It was definitely out of character for our typical or exterminations that we're used to.
Yeah. And like the pig she is, the Boulets decided to roast Koco Caine for that and finally rustle up some grub, right? I don't know that we've seen the last of Koco Caine, actually. And one of the top tweets pointed this out, that in the trailer, Koco Caine is shown as participating in the Killer Clowns Challenge, which we haven't seen yet. And they included a screen cap of it. And I was like, that's right. She's in the Killer Clowns episode. So something weird is going to happen. Yeah, something. I don't know. But she's not done filming yet for sure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I also don't know why, if she gets eliminated here, why you would put that in the trailer. But I don't know. But yeah, so I think something fishy is going to happen. All right, it's time for top tweets. Getting into some news. So some things I wanted to talk about that came up. So as in true competition fashion, drag race queens do this all the time. The competitors post their looks on social media and do these things, and the eliminated people also will post what they had planned to do for the challenges and things like that to make sure their work is seen and all this stuff. I found it kind of interesting. So a lot of the competitors are posting their looks, but with updates. So they're like, oh, I wish I had thought of this before. Bitter Betty posted an updated version of her look with a prosthetic and some things like that. And then she wrote this comment that said, I don't know why I didn't think to use a prosthetic for this look, but she said, all I can say is that Bitter Betty is my pandemic baby, so I'm literally figuring out this whole monster drag thing on the show.
Interesting.
So, obviously, she's been doing drag for 20 years, but she might not be doing monster drag.
And that's what I think is happening. Jade Jolie also did a similar thing where she decided to update it by putting a background that more explained what was happening with her character and explained her props. And then she wrote a very long, lengthy description of the backstory of her character.
Her movie poster doesn't make sense. It even glows like the lasso of truth. Like, what the?
I know.
Make it make sense.
That's what I mean. She looks like a Wonder Woman villain. She's like, this is the lasso of lies. And I've come for you.
Lie to me and then we'll shoot you with my alien.
Yeah, it's so stupid. And her whole thing was like, I'm an alien bounty hunter who's collected elements from their worlds. And I'm like, but you need to be on the Western world now. So are you coming to take over a Western world? Did you already do one? But I'm so confused. Anyways, the Dragula tour has been announced, starting with their first leg in the UK. So this is part of the actual prize that the winner of Dragula receives. They headline this tour. Looks like it's going to be their biggest yet, which is pretty cool. This isn't Dragula related, but it is another show that we cover on Highlights, so I wanted to mention it. But RuPaul's Drag Race is now casting for season 15. Season 14 should be airing in the beginning of the year coming up, but they're already casting for season 15. RuPaul also dropped another single along with this announcement that seemed to be a song about casting for Drag Race. So the new album Ru's putting out seems to be entirely about Drag Race queens, which is very interesting to me. All right, it's time for the scoreboard. Let's see where everybody has landed. As always, these are the competitors we started with. And here's who we have left. As of now, Caine is dead and in 9th place. Although I do think something weird's going to happen. So I have a feeling she's going to mess this up and I'm going to have to go back and change things. So now people who have been up for extermination include not only Zaveleta, who's been on an upkick actually. Bitter Betty, who I think is bound to end up back here. And now Saint. Saint and Zaveleta have now each won a challenge. And they have both been up for extermination, so they are also tied. This week's episode is a staple in the Dragula brand, actually. It's Monsters of Rock. And it's always a really fun episode, so I'm actually pretty excited for this. Well, we're all caught up, guys. And
Yay!
yeah, and we're ready to roll into this Monsters of Rock episode. So I'm really excited. And with that being said, as always,
Thank you for watching highlights.
And we'll see you next time.